What's going on, Gooners, and welcome back to Gooner Pavilion. I know it's been a couple of weeks since I posted. Hey, life happens, football happens, but we're back. We're back. A lot's been going on in the world of Arsenal. I have been watching, all the things that's going on, and a lot has happened. So let's dive right in. Let's dive right into it. Right, so we've got injuries to Arsenal. We've got Starboy coming back. We've also got Real Madrid on the horizon. It is going to be a very important couple of weeks for Arsenal. I think as Arsenal fans, we've been on this roller coaster since the start of the year, been hit by the injury bug. So I feel like we're very resilient right now. I mean, it doesn't still hurt the fact that Liverpool are going to run away with the title this season, and Arsenal are going to finish second, yet again. But I think that this has been a season of mixed fortunes. But I think it's also been a season where I think Mikel Arteta has learned a lot as a coach. I think you've got to give him credit for being able to pull out the kind of result that he has been pulling out, almost, at a point with no forward players, at all. I'm talking about first teamers, converting Marino into a striker and him scoring goals. I think the record says 5 out of 8 games he scored. He's got 5 goals in 8 games. I think you've got to give the manager credit. And yes, I'm not always the first to do that, but I think he deserves a lot of credit. Listen, I'm just looking at my notes. Let's not kid ourselves. The title race is over. It's not looking good. We're second, 12 points behind Liverpool. And I think while mathematically it's not done, I think realistically it is done. It is done. I think Liverpool would have to lose 4 times because that would give us back parity. And then we have to keep on winning. I look at the games that Arsenal have got to play, and I mean, there are bookend games. We've got Everton, and then we've got Liverpool. And in between, we've got a couple of teams that you feel like Arsenal should be able to keep winning. But I don't think it's going to be enough because we're running out of games. Running out of games for Arsenal to do anything decent in terms of the title race. So I think that all, focus now is the Champions League. I think it is. Before we do that though, let's talk about this injury list because it's been awful. Absolutely dreadful for Arsenal. I was screaming this, a long time ago, a couple of months ago, where I was sort of saying that there is a pattern that was emerging, with Arsenal at the start of the season. We were getting every single month an injury to an important player. And true to form, we got into April and we got another injury. It's literally been like that every single month. And it's been fluctuating between muscle injury and other types of injuries. It's just been awful. I mean, if you look at it right now, we got Gabriel, is out for the season. I always say out for the season, it always feels a lot of big, but I mean, there's only a couple of games left. So we're talking about 5, 6 weeks. So I have no issue that he's going to be back for the new season. Timber is out. I know reports say that he might be playing potentially. I mean, listen, if Timber is any doubt, I wouldn't play him in this game against Everton because it's going to be a tough game. We're going away from home to play Everton. So I think that if Timber is 50-50, I think you keep him on the bench. I think you can play Partey in this game, and I think we'll still be okay. Everton don't have the pacey wingers to really, really turn us around. And they're going to play a little bit like how they play Liverpool. They'll probably play with Beto up front and they're going to be looking to get the ball to Beto as quickly as possible. And they're going to target that space between Miles Lewis Kelly and Kivio because I think that's probably the weakest part of our defense right now. Not because Miles Kelly is not good, but because he does go up front quite a bit. So when there is a turnover, I think that's where they'll be hitting. And I don't know, Kivio is his best turning and running, back towards goal. So I think that's where Everton will target. our backline is cooked. Our backline is cooked just before we go face Real Madrid. But listen, I've had enough of all these people that have been talking doom and gloom about Arsenal because I think a lot of people, the pundits, TV stations, all this people, everyone is looking at an opportunity to get a negative story about Arsenal. It's been like that all season. Whether it was the red cards, the indiscipline, then they talked about the celebrations, then they talked about Miles Lewis Kelly's, and it just goes on and on and on. So listen, people are always going to find something to say about Arsenal. And I think that's just the reality of it. But for me, I don't think we should be afraid of Real Madrid. I really don't think we should be afraid of Madrid. Since we got drawn with Real Madrid, I've been watching them a couple of times, and there is no doubt that they are planning for this Arsenal game. I think if you look at their selection in the last couple of weeks, they've been doing a lot of rotation in the squad. And I think it's only one eye on this Arsenal game. There's no question about that. They've done rotation. Mbappe has been on the bench. In the last couple games, Mbappe was on the bench. They've played Rudiger on the bench as well. They've really, really been, preparing for Arsenal. So I know that they're going to be coming in very, very hot. But I also think that Arsenal, have the ability to keep the ball against a team like this. I think we've got the ability to keep the ball. I don't think that we should be afraid of Real Madrid. Very, very important that we do the business at the Emirates because I think that when we go to the Bernabeu, it's going to be a different atmosphere. It's going to be a different context. And really, you want to be going into that game with at least 2 goals up. I think you do. I think that, at the Bernabeu, they would want to attack as much as possible, and we would need to be on our A game. And listen, it's very hard to defend for 90 minutes without making a mistake. You're going to make a mistake. So I think the reality is you go into that game with at least 2 goals up, keep a clean sheet at the Emirates. I think is key. Got to keep a clean sheet at the Emirates. Let them come on to Arsenal at the Bernabeu, and then we can pick them up. I think we've got Saka, we've got Waneri. I think we've got players that can hurt Real Madrid. Their backline is not that good. Other than Rudiger, who I think is a very decent player, very aggressive, a bit like Gabriel, at the back in terms of his aggressiveness, how he defends, doesn't give anything, doesn't give too much away. I think that they still can be got. I know they've got a good keeper, and we've got to get past the keeper to score the goals, but I think we can do it. I absolutely think we can. I mean, we've gone toe to toe with some of the best teams right now. We went toe to toe with PSG. We've gone toe to toe with Man City. I know you can say what you want about Man City in terms of the down year that they have, but we went toe to toe with Liverpool as well. And we should have won that game against Liverpool. So I feel like we shouldn't have any fear for anyone. And I know before you say that was when we had everyone available, but we played Man City without Bukayo Saka and we still scored 5 goals. So for me, I think that we've got what it takes. And speaking of Bukayo Saka, Starboy is back. He is back. I missed him. I think every Arsenal fan has missed Bukayo Saka. I think he is just something. Bukayo Saka is becoming a little bit like Thierry Henry in terms of, and before you jump on anything and start saying that, what am I talking about? Well, I think in terms of the emotional connection that Bukayo Saka is having with the fans, how the fans feel about him, what he has done in big moments, he's come up big for Arsenal. And I think now we're beginning to have this sense of he's ours, right? And and listen, I know, and I'm not naive to this, that at some point, Bukayo is not going to be a one season, one club guy. I think he's too good to be a one club guy. I don't see the best guys being one club guys. That's just how it is. You look at all the top players. People could argue that Messi was a one club guy for a while in his prime, and maybe that will be the situation with Bukayo Saka. But I think that at some point we're gonna have to say goodbye to him. And when that time comes, because it will come, Hopefully, Arsenal won a couple of titles. Like Thierry Henry, when he left, went to Barcelona. Arsenal won some titles. We couldn't win the Champions League because that's the one that he really, really wanted. And he went to Barcelona and won it almost the next season. But, I hope that we can give Bukayo Saka everything that he wants in an Arsenal shirt, and then he can go off into the sunset, and, listen, we've had a lot of debate about Trent Alexander-Arnold while I digress a little bit. And I have a lot to say about that, but this channel is for Arsenal, so I'm gonna keep that. But if you want to hear my thoughts on Trent Alexander-Arnold, then check out my other channel. So which is where I talk about all things, football, talk about other teams as well. But we'll keep it strictly at Arsenal. But Starboy is back. We're happy to have him back. He comes back and he scores a goal. That's much more what we want. That's what we could ask for. For him to come in and score a goal. I think it gives confidence, give the rest of the team confidence. And I think the away we go. What else has been happening in the world of Arsenal while I have been away? Well, we got a new technical director. It makes me wonder if what happened in the January transfer was as a result that Arsenal had always planned to do nothing in that January transfer. I think that was a plan. And partly may have been because they didn't have a technical director in place. I know they had someone who was standing in for him, so I think it would be completely unfair to say that they didn't trust him to do the business. But I think we scrambled in January, couldn't get any meaningful thing done. And now we're looking at a summer that is going to be big. It's going to be huge. I think Arsenal is going to spend a lot of money, not necessarily because the players that we're going to buy are going to be worth a lot of money, but people know what we need. People know what we're desperate for. Everyone knows that we need a striker. As much as everyone cries about it, and I'm one of them that says that we don't necessarily need someone who scores 20, 30 goals. But I do get the point about having someone who's clinical in the box. I think playing as a striker is enough. Think you need to know how to make the runs, how to drag defenders out of position, how to become invisible in the box until the ball comes. I think that Marino has done a good job. Havertz has done a decent job as well. I just think that you need someone who can create something out of nothing. I think that's really, really important. And I think we're going to need to get one of those kind of people. But in my head, I'm always like, hey, you can go get a good striker, and in 5, 6 weeks, he gets an injury. Then what do you do? Then everyone backs down. It's like, oh, you satisfy that itch of getting a striker. I think what has hurt Arsenal this season, really, it's not because we haven't really had a number nine. I think we've had goals dried up from all the usual sources of goals. Odegaard hasn't been scoring goals. Trossard hasn't really been himself. He's scored a couple of goals, but we know he can score more. Martinelli, should be hitting 15 goals a season, right? He should be. Then we had Saka injured. You're looking at 15 goals from Saka as a minimum. And then you want Declan chipping with the goals here and there. Score 2, 3, 4. You score 7 goals. That's a very good season for a midfielder in Declan Rice. Partey should chip in with at least 5 goals. He scores a few screamers. Then you've got the defense, Saliba, maybe good for 3 or 4, Gabriel, maybe good for another 4 or 5, goals in the season. And then you build that and then you're a threat everywhere across the pitch. I think that, we've been very blunt in attack, and it's not necessarily because we haven't had a number nine. I just think that we've had goals dried up and we're not doing the most when we get to the box. So I know that's going to be important, for Arsenal. It's going to be important for this new technical director because he's going to be under scrutiny. We're going to be looking at him. We're going to be watching him. What are you going to do? How are you going to fix Arsenal? How are you going to change the trajectory of where things are? How are we going to get over the disappointment of not winning the league this season? He's got big shoes to fill, but I'm going to be quietly watching Andrea Berta, see what he does, for Arsenal. But guys, let's look ahead. What's coming up next? What's coming up for Arsenal? So I'm recording this on a Friday evening. We play Everton tomorrow at 12:30. It's one of those early kickoff games as well. I don't like early kickoff games, especially when you're playing away from home. I mean, the travel, they probably have to travel today, to get there. Everton is not an easy place to travel to. So I understand why those games are always very, very tough, for Arsenal. But Everton next, very tricky. Then we got Brentford, Ipswich, Palace, Bournemouth, and then Liverpool at Anfield. You already know the PTSD that gives us, right? But here's the thing, even if the title's gone, there's still the Champions League football to play. Excuse me, pride to restore, guys. Pride to restore. And the top two finish to secure. So we can't fall apart now. We can. So this is all about building the momentum. This game against Everton, it's not so much the 3 points, but it's also for Real Madrid. You want to go into those games with confidence. You want to go into those games, feeling like you can do what you're supposed to do. I mean, I've had, when I think about the Arsenal, I think about, the good old days. I think about, those days where we go on a run, where that is just a question of, how many goals Arsenal is going to score. We're a threat from the set pieces, we're a threat from corners, but it's not always like that lately. So for me, I think, confidence can be a fragile thing. You're running out of games in order to build that. So you go to Everton, you take a 1-0 win, you leave, you get out, you don't concede. Then you're talking about how solid your defense is without Gabriel, because I think that's really important. We need to prove to ourselves that we're capable of keeping a clean sheet even without Gabriel in the team. You score a goal. Saka is dangerous. Maybe gets an assist. Maybe he gets the goal. I feel like Everton were going to defend well. They've got Breadway. They've got some decent team there. They're going to play the low block. There's no question about that. So we got to prepare for that. And I think we're going to have to be clinical when we get the chance, because it's going to be 5, 6 Everton players in the box every time we come into the penalty box. So listen, it's the lay of the land, Gooners. It's the lay of the land. Injuries everywhere, title dreams fading, but there's hope still alive, right? There's definitely hope still alive. Saka in, better in, and we gotta believe. We gotta believe. Listen, I want you guys to drop your thoughts below in the comments as well. And don't forget to like and subscribe, to the channel. I really appreciate all of you. It's great to be back putting out Arsenal content. And let's go for a win tomorrow. Let's support the guys and go for a win. Come on, you Gunners.